Hey style enthusiasts, and welcome back to the channel. Oh honey, have I got a juicy one for you today. It's me again, your guide through the fabulous and sometimes thorny world of fashion history, Clara. We all swoon over vintage designs, right? But let's be real, have you ever discovered something less than savory about a beloved creator? Yeah, it gets awkward. Today, we're not just admiring the clothes, we're peeking behind the larger-than-life personas of 5 legendary vintage designers who were as famous for their controversies as they were for their couture. These aren't just tales of hemlines and silhouettes, these are stories packed with scandal, shocking statements, and legacies that are still debated fiercely today. Get ready for some serious fashion tea. First up, let's talk about the undisputed Kaiser of modern fashion, the prolific powerhouse, Karl Lagerfeld. Taking the reins at a sleepy Chanel in 1983, Lagerfeld didn't just revive the brand. He supercharged it into the global luxury behemoth we know today, masterfully blending Coco's codes with contemporary cool. Simultaneously, he juggled Fendi and his own label, becoming synonymous with tireless work ethic and instantly recognizable personal style. His influence was monumental, shaping the aspirations and aesthetics of the late 20th and early 21st centuries with his sharp silhouettes, logomania, and extravagant runway spectacles. He was the definition of high fashion for decades. But oh, darling Karl, his tongue was often sharper than his shears. Especially in his later years, Lagerfeld became notorious for his provocative and often deeply offensive remarks. He fat-shamed, slammed the hashtag #MeToo movement, made insensitive comments about migrants, and generally seemed to relish controversy. Fun fact, he once sent Adele flowers after criticizing her weight, a move dripping with backhanded something. While the fashion industry largely continued to worship at his altar until his death in 2019, public opinion grew increasingly critical. His design legacy, particularly at Chanel and Fendi, is undeniable and titanic, but his personal legacy remains complex. A genius tainted by a troubling lack of filter, forcing us to ask how much bad behavior we forgive for great art. Next, let's talk about a designer whose name evokes both breathtaking romance and a spectacular public downfall, John Galliano. This man was pure theater. From his own label to Givenchy, and most iconically at Christian Dior, from 1996 to 2011, Galliano reigned as fashion's ultimate fantasist. His runways were transportive narratives, elaborate historical epics, exotic journeys, decadent dreams brought to life through masterful bias cuts, intricate embellishments, and unparalleled showmanship. He defined the opulent, maximalist glamour of the late 90s and early 2000s, creating moments of fashion so beautiful they could make you weep. And then came the implosion. In 2011, videos surfaced showing Galliano launching into vile anti-Semitic tirades in a Paris bar. The fallout was immediate and brutal: swift dismissal from Dior, public condemnation, and a career in tatters. It was a shocking, ugly display that forced the industry to confront the darkness beneath the dazzling facade. Fun fact, Galliano blamed addiction for his behavior and subsequently entered rehab. After years out of the spotlight, he made a cautious return, taking the helm at Maison Margiela in 2014, where his creativity continues, albeit in a more restrained context. His undeniable design genius is forever asterisked by that infamous scandal, sparking ongoing debates about cancel culture, rehabilitation, and the possibility of redemption in the public eye. Alright, let's rip it up and head to 70s London with the godmother and godfather of punk fashion, Vivienne Westwood and Malcolm McLaren. Forget Parisian elegance, this was about raw, snarling, anti-establishment rebellion translated into clothes. Through their legendary shops like Sex and Seditionaries, they birthed the punk aesthetic, deliberately ripped fabrics, provocative slogans, bondage gear repurposed as fashion, safety pins as jewelry, and a whole lot of attitude. They weren't just selling clothes, they were selling anarchy, challenging every conceivable notion of taste and propriety in Thatcher-era Britain. Their influence on street style and generations of designers is immeasurable. But controversial? Honey, that was the whole point. Their designs were intentionally shocking, meant to provoke outrage from the mainstream. They incorporated swastikas, supposedly for shock value, not endorsement, but yikes, images of the queen defaced, and explicit references to sexuality. Pushing buttons was their modus operandi. Critics slammed them for being crude, offensive, and prioritizing shock over skill, though Westwood's tailoring prowess later became undeniable. Fun fact, McLaren, Ever the provocateur managed the Sex Pistols using the band and the clothes as symbiotic tools of chaos. While McLaren remained an agitator, Westwood evolved into Dame Vivian, a respected avant-garde designer and passionate activist, proving that rebellion could mature into lasting influence even if her early work still retains its power to shock. Now let's inject some high-octane Italian glamour with the legendary Gianni Versace. In the late 80s and 90s, Versace defined excessive, unapologetic sex appeal. Think vibrant, clashing prints inspired by antiquity and pop art, body-conscious silhouettes, shimmering Oraton mesh, and that instantly recognizable Medusa head logo. He championed the rise of the supermodel, turning his runways into star-studded spectacles, and wasn't afraid of overt luxury or harnessing the power of celebrity. His clothes were bold, loud, and screamed confidence, the perfect attire for a decade of booming excess. The controversy surrounding Versace, however, wasn't primarily about his designs, but the shocking circumstances of his death. His brutal murder outside his Miami mansion in 1997 sent shockwaves through the fashion world and beyond, turning him from a flamboyant icon into a figure of immense tragedy. The ensuing manhunt for his killer became a global media frenzy. Fun fact, the safety pin dress worn by Elizabeth Hurley in 1994 was initially deemed vulgar by some critics but became one of fashion's most iconic red carpet moments, perfectly encapsulating Versace's blend of daring and exposure. His death cemented his legendary status, forever linking the brand with a specific era of opulent glamour cut short by violence, a legacy powerfully carried on by his sister, Donatella. Finally, we arrive at perhaps the most foundational and potentially most troubling figure in modern fashion, Gabrielle Coco Chanel. Her contributions are legendary, revolutionary even. She liberated women from corsets, popularized trousers for women, gave us the timeless little black dress, the iconic tweed suit, the concept of costume jewelry, and the world's most famous perfume, Chanel No. 5. She essentially invented the template for modern, chic, comfortable women's wear in the first half of the 20th century, building a brand that remains the pinnacle of luxury. But darlings, there's a dark cloud. For decades, rumors swirled about Chanel's activities during the Nazi occupation of Paris in World War II. These intensified with Hal Vaughn's 2011 book, Sleeping with the Enemy: Coco Chanel's Secret War, which presented evidence alleging she not only had a relationship with Nazi intelligence officer Baron Hans Gunther von Dinklage, but actively worked as a German agent, Abwehr Agent F7124, codename Westminster. Fun fact, and a deeply unsettling one, her alleged espionage mission, Operation Modelhut, aimed to broker a separate peace between Germany and Britain using her connections. The House of Chanel refutes the espionage claims, but acknowledges her relationship with the Baron. This alleged collaboration casts a chilling shadow over her immense legacy, forcing a deeply uncomfortable reckoning. How do we reconcile the visionary designer who empowered women with the woman accused of consorting with and even aiding the Nazi regime? Whew, so what do we do with all this? It's complicated, right? These designers undeniably shaped fashion history, and their work continues to inspire. But their actions or words force us to grapple with the age-old question, can we separate the art from the artist? Do we boycott brands with tainted legacies, or can we admire the creation while condemning the creator's flaws? There are no easy answers, but maybe the key is awareness, appreciating the aesthetic achievements while acknowledging the problematic histories and maintaining an active dialogue. Food for thought, fashion lovers! And that, my astute audience, is our whirlwind tour through some of fashion's most brilliant and baggage-laden icons. It proves that behind the glamour, fashion history is packed with human complexity. Who did we miss? Which designer's story shocks you the most? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed delving into the drama, and subscribe for more deep dives into vintage style. Stay curious, stay critical, and always question the narrative. See you next time!